which includes pains, aches and pains such as severe headache and muscle and joint pain. The signs and symptoms also include fever. Other signs is loss of appetite, a sore throat, gastrointestinal symptoms including abdominal pain, diarrhea and vomiting, unexplained bleeding or bruising. It takes 21 days in incubation. Ebola takes anywhere between 2 days to 3 weeks to manifest after infection. Deaths under investigation include Kenneth Sendaji, Imelda Nasazi, Jackson Sembule, Patricia Nakawesi. All these have died and their deaths are under investigation. It could have been Ebola. Why is one case of Ebola an outbreak? They bring you what is inside the Daily Monitor. They said we are prepared for Ebola and won't restrict travel. That's government. Transporters tighten check and masking for passengers. Cracks emerging plan to control the disease at borders. It's a very big national scale. So take caution and take note as you travel, as you move, as you meet people. There is an Ebola outbreak in our nation. And also, still in the Daily Monitor, third term is upon us. Give your child the best preparation for exams. It's all in today's Daily Monitor, and very many job opportunities and tenders. We'll go straight into the Daily Monitor. The New Vision. In the New Vision today, they bring you universities' lower cut-off points, and they bring you a full list inside. Makerere Chambogo admission lists out. Makerere, they bring you business administration, architecture, and in Chambogo, and a lot. It's all inside today's New Vision. And also, UNEDIS issues new PLE guidelines. At least 60,000 staff will be deployed to monitor this year's primary living examination. The workforce includes security officers, invigilators, scouts and supervisors. They will be responsible for distributing materials and monitoring the examination process. And also, still in the news today, government gives CAOs, the CAOs, RDC's new directives on corruption in a bid to fight corruption. The government has issued new guidelines to resident district commissioners, town clerks, and the chief administrative officers on how to curb corruption that has affected the implementation of various government projects at district levels. And they also bring you 13 more candidates join Yala race. The National Resistance Movement Yala candidates led by the Party Electoral Commission Chairperson Tanga Udoe and Government Chief Whip Dennis Obua as they arrived for nomination at the Parliament yesterday. There is a lot happening around us. So get yourself a copy of today's papers and you will get to know the details of what is really happening in our nation. Allow me to take you straight into the news that is beyond Uganda. Kenya's central bank has licensed 10 digital money lending companies in a move intended to lock out rogue players. The regulator said another 278 that had applied for clearance had not met the required standards. Digital lending apps have established a solid footing in the country, some backed by huge venture capital groups in Western and Asian markets. Their presence has raised concern because they are largely unregulated. The central bank has given a 6-month window for the lenders to apply for licenses, which closed on the 17th of September. Surprisingly, the leading lenders are not on the list of the 10 announced. And moving on, the authorities in Nigeria say more than 300 people have been killed and more than 100,000 displaced by floods across the country since July. Homes and farms have also been devastated. The West African country is currently experiencing its worst deadly floods in many years. The authorities say 29 of its 36 states have been affected by floods. They are caused by heavy rains and release of excess water from dams by authorities within Nigeria and the neighboring Cameroon. Rivers are also overflowing. And in Eritrea, the Eritrean troops have launched a full-scale offensive in Ethiopia's Tigray region, according to a spokesman for the Tigrayan rebel group. A U.S. envoy said the U.S. was aware of Eritrean troops crossing into Tigray and condemned it. The Eritrean and Ethiopian governments have not yet commented on the claims. If Eritrean offensive against the government is confirmed, it will mark an escalation following the collapse of 5 months' truce last month. Conflicts broke out in November 2020 following the mass fallout between Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, which controls the region. And elsewhere, windfall profits made by fossil fuel companies should be tasked to pay for climate change, according to the UN Secretary General. Antonio Guterres told the General Assembly that polluters should pay for the impact of climate-related events. This question of who funds the losses has long dodged international negotiations. Poor countries say the rich should pay because of their historic carbon emissions. And in Asia, Hurricane Fiona is continuing to strengthen, say, according to US forecasters, having already claimed at least 7 lives in parts of the Caribbean. Forecasters say the Category 3 storm with wind speeds of 115 meters per hour could worsen to a Category 4, the second highest designation. Rain has been lashing Puerto Rico, where at least 4 people died, and 80% of the island remains without power. 2 deaths have also been reported in the Dominican Republic. An 18-year-old girl passed away after being struck by an electric pole felled by strong winds, while a man in the northeastern town of Nagua was killed by a falling tree. And still about Hurricane Fiona, it has left towns in Puerto Rico flooded just 5 years after Hurricane Maria. And moving on, in Asia, in the Arab world, female protesters have been at the forefront of escalating protests in Iran and have been burning headscarves after the death in custody of a woman detained for breaking hijab laws. Demonstrations have continued for 5 successive nights and reached several towns and cities. Mahsa Amini died in hospital on Friday after spending 3 days in a coma. In Sari, north of Tehran, large crowds cheered as women set their hijabs alight in defiant acts of the protest. And about the Ukraine war, Western nations have condemned Moscow's plan to hold urgent so-called referendums in parts of Ukraine that are currently under Russian control. The votes have been called by Russian-backed officials in 4 Ukrainian regions to ask whether they should become part of Russia. The US, Germany, and France have said they would never recognize the results, such as sham ballots. The NATO military alliance said the plan spelled an escalation in the war. And in the United States, finally, US prosecutors have charged 47 people in the largest COVID relief fraud scheme alleged to date. The suspects are accused of stealing $250 million from a government aid program that was supposed to feed children in need during the pandemic. They allegedly spent the spoils on property, cars, and luxury goods. A Minnesota non-profit organization, Feeding Our Future, is accused of orchestrating the plot. Founder Amy Bock denies any wrongdoing. Well, that brings us to the end of this morning's news update. I remain Masigashe Gusembatia, but before I leave, I remind you of the Karamoja cry. We are sending help to Karamoja. We are sending a permanent help to Karamoja. That is, we are tilling their land, we are plowing their land, we are planting for them, and we are producing for them. This is the voice of God to us. That's our direction from God to us as a ministry and as a people, as Ugandans generally. Please join us as we send relief to the people of Karamoja. Reports in the past months have indicated that the people of Karamoja are dying of hunger, and over 1,000 people have so far died of hunger in Karamoja. this can't happen again, and it's because of this that Pastor Robert Kayanja has come up with an initiative to help the people of Karamoja. We sent food earlier on, we are sending more food, but we are also plowing their land, we are planting in their land, and we are producing in their land for them. It is their food and it is help that God has asked us to do. As in Isaiah 58, join us by sending your seed or your contribution to the numbers that will be available during the services, or you could bring your seed here at the Miracle Center Cathedral, hand it over to the pastor. This is a great opportunity for us to save our own. Remember, God says in the Bible that do not chase away your own, help your own. Well, it's a cry that is for Karamoja. Please be blessed as you join us. The Pastors Now program is coming on with our different pastors. Stay tuned to Channel 44. God bless you. I remain Masiga Shegu Sematia together with Livingstone Kawesi. Good morning.